We walk through life as if we've signed a contract with the cosmos assuring us of tomorrow. We plan for 10 years, 20 years, retirement, future homes, children's weddings, and bucket lists. But nowhere in the grand design is there a clause that guarantees the next breath. We don't own life. We are merely being carried by it. Every moment is a gift we didn't pay for. A breath given freely, with no promise of the next. Yet we live in denial, as though time owes us more. Look around. Every day, people die, not because they were old or ill, but because life decided not to flow through them anymore. A child sleeps and doesn't wake. A healthy man falls and never rises. A joyful laugh ends in silence. Death doesn't operate on logic, fairness, or readiness. It simply is. The idea that we are young or strong, and therefore immune, is one of the most dangerous illusions we carry. It delays our awakening and dulls our gratitude. But this isn't cause for fear. This is an invitation to presence. When we understand that life is uncertain, it doesn't make us anxious. On the contrary, it brings immediacy to our experience. When you know this may be the last sunset you witness, won't you truly see it for the first time? When you know your words could be your last, won't you choose them with care and love? The fragile nature of life is not a threat. It's a sacred reminder to live fully. The tragedy is not that life ends, but that so many live without ever truly beginning. People postpone joy, love, forgiveness, and their dreams for later, never realizing that later is not a date on the calendar. It is a myth. The illusion of control over life's timeline makes us arrogant. We speak cruelly, chase nonsense, and waste hours scrolling while the clock ticks silently toward our last breath. We are so busy surviving that we forget to live. In truth, life doesn't promise time. It offers moments. Not years, but now. Not lifetimes, but presence. If we can live with this awareness, not in panic, but in clarity, then every moment becomes rich, sacred, and vibrant. We stop merely existing and begin truly living, not because we fear death, but because we respect life. The unpredictability of life is not something to fear. It is the fire that awakens consciousness. There is something mysterious about the hour of 3 a.m. A time when the world is cloaked in silence, when even the wind seems to pause and observe. If you have ever woken up at this hour without reason, no noise, no alarm, no disturbance, you may have dismissed it as coincidence, but it isn't. That moment is not about disturbed sleep. It is a signal, a subtle inner bell ringing from the core of your being. It's not the body that wakes. It is awareness rising to the surface, if only for a moment. This early hour is often called the hour of the soul. It is a time when the distractions of the world are at their lowest. No traffic, no voices, no digital noise. The external world is asleep, and in that absence, the internal world becomes audible. That's when your deeper self tries to speak, not in words, but in feelings, in silence, in a strange, unshakable alertness. The question is, will you listen, or will you reach for your phone, trying to escape the weight of your own awareness? At 3 a.m., the subconscious loosens its grip on the illusion of permanence. You are vulnerable, open, and unguarded. The ego is still resting, and something primal within you wakes. You may feel unsettled, but that discomfort is sacred. It's the tremor of truth brushing against your inner wall, The realization that something about your existence needs attention, a shift, a correction. It may not scream, but it whispers deeply. You are running out of time to be truly alive. People chase spiritual experiences in temples, ashrams, and pilgrimages, but sometimes the most powerful moments of clarity come uninvited in the quiet shadows of your bedroom. That jolt at 3 a.m. is a wake-up call, not from the outside, but from the very source of life within you. It asks questions you don't ask yourself in the daytime. Why are you here? What are you avoiding? What are you pretending not to know? In the daylight, you may ignore them. At 3 a.m., you cannot. This is not the time to panic but to pause, not to fear but to face. In that raw stillness, where the ego sleeps but the soul stirs, you are closer to truth than ever. If you can just sit with that stillness instead of escaping it, breathe with it, listen to it. It will begin to reveal. It is not insomnia. It is initiation. The 3 a.m. hour does not wake you to disturb you. It wakes you because you are ready, even if you don't know it yet. Death is not a distant event waiting for old age or illness to arrive. It is not a tragedy reserved for others. It is the shadow that walks beside us from the first breath we take. From the moment we are born, life and death begin their dance together. Every heartbeat is not only a sign of life, it is a countdown. Yet we behave as if death is something that only happens to people we read about, hear about, or cry over. We forget that it walks quietly, patiently. Beside us, we make plans for 5 years, 10 years, even retirement decades away. And there is nothing wrong with that. But those plans are made with the assumption that we will live to see them. That assumption is never guaranteed. We think death needs a reason. An accident, a diagnosis, a tragedy. But death doesn't need a reason. Life itself is reason enough. The body is not immortal. It is designed to wear out, fade away, and return to the soil. The moment we stop acknowledging this, we start wasting what little time we have. Death does not knock only when you're ready. It doesn't come after a warning, a note, or a conversation. It comes suddenly, without regard for schedules, dreams, or age. It can enter the room during laughter, in the middle of a conversation, or while you're asleep. It doesn't care for your regrets or your to-do list. It simply arrives and takes. The problem is not that death is cruel. It is that we forget how close it always is. We forget that it is not the enemy. It is the mirror. Knowing that death is near, not in a fearful way, but in an awakened way, should not paralyze you. It should liberate you. It should make you breathe deeper, love more fiercely, and live more honestly. When you understand that each day may be your last, you begin to treat each moment as your first. You no longer walk through life with apathy or dullness. You move with intensity, with sincerity, because there's no time to waste in pretending or postponing. We don't need to obsess over death, but we do need to befriend the truth of it. That closeness can give your life clarity. It can strip away the noise and reveal what matters. When you are conscious that death may arrive at any time, your priorities change. Petty arguments lose their flavor. Ego games seem childish and love becomes urgent. The truth is, death isn't around the corner. It's in the room. The only question is, are you alive enough to recognize its presence and let it make your living more profound, We spend our entire lives chasing things that appear to give us worth. Titles, wealth, status, reputation. From childhood, we are programmed to equate our value with achievement. Top grades become high-paying jobs. High-paying jobs become social status. And status becomes a false promise of permanence. But no matter how tall the tower of your accomplishments may seem, death does not hesitate to level it in an instant. It does not care what you have built. It only asks who you have become. The illusion of achievement is that it brings safety. That if we succeed enough, earn enough, or become somebody, we can somehow delay or bypass the raw truths of life. But life doesn't work that way. You may have climbed corporate ladders, built empires, and acquired mansions, but when the final moment arrives, not one of those things can follow you. The applause of the world cannot silence the question that comes from within. Was I alive, or was I only performing? Even the most prestigious honors cannot protect you from the emptiness that success often hides. People who seem to have everything often carry the deepest sense of restlessness. Why? Because achievement alone cannot nourish the soul. It can inflate the ego, but the ego is temporary. It burns away in the fire of time. When you place your security in something external, money, fame, identity, you become fragile. One event, one loss, one breath, and it all comes undone. There is nothing wrong with achievement. But the tragedy begins when you confuse it with fulfillment. When you define yourself by what you have rather than what you are, you live a borrowed identity. You become a shell polished by society but hollow within. That's why, even after reaching what you once thought was success, you still feel a void, a silent discomfort that no trophy or recognition can fill. Because real security is not in what you possess, it's in your inner stillness. When death stands before you, it does not count your medals or your possessions. It looks straight into the quality of your awareness. It asks not what you earned, but what you understood. Not how high you climbed, but how deeply you lived. In that moment, your biggest titles mean nothing if you haven't discovered the silent core of who you are beyond your achievements. Death is the final truth that strips away all illusion. And if you haven't seen through that illusion while alive, it may be too late to begin then. Most people are not truly awake. They are simply functioning. Their eyes are open, but they see nothing. Their feet are moving, but there is no direction. Life becomes a mechanical routine, a loop of repetition disguised as purpose. They wake, work, eat, scroll, sleep, and repeat. Yet beneath this business lies a frightening truth. They are not really living. They are sleepwalking. Moving through life unconsciously, guided not by inner clarity, but by outer compulsion. When you live like this, days blur into weeks, and weeks into years. Suddenly you are older, wondering where it all went, and why it feels so hollow. You may have achieved milestones, gained recognition, collected possessions, but internally, you feel like a stranger to your own existence. This is what happens when you live without presence. You are awake to the world, but asleep to yourself. You follow the crowd, the calendar, the culture, but never once stop to ask, why am I here? What is this all for? Wakefulness is not about keeping your eyes open. It is about opening your perception. It is not about doing more but seeing more. When you are truly awake, even the smallest things come alive: the wind against your skin, the taste of your food, the rhythm of your breath. There's an intensity to your existence. You stop multitasking your way through the miracle of being alive. You begin to feel life, not as a duty, but as a divine unfolding. You realize this is not routine. It is a rare, passing gift. Sleepwalking through life is easy. It requires no courage, only habit. But wakefulness, it demands everything. You must drop your false identities, question your beliefs, and dismantle your illusions. You must become raw, aware, alert, not just to what is happening around you, but what is happening within you. You begin to see how your fears, desires, and distractions have dulled your senses. And slowly, you begin to choose clarity over comfort, truth over convenience. This shift from unconscious routine to conscious presence is the essence of real life. Not a life of just surviving, but of truly being. It doesn't require you to leave your job or abandon society. It only asks that you show up. That when you speak, you mean it. That when you act, you're aware of why. That when you sit silently, you're not waiting for the next distraction. You're simply there, fully. Only then can you say you are awake. And only those who are awake can live before death comes to claim them.